Sorry.
We are live.
Good evening, everyone. Today is January 21st, 2026, and this is our regularly scheduled infrastructure committee meeting. It is 6:13, and on our committee, we have Councillor Dean, Councillor Beck, Councillor Carson, Councillor Falloon, Councillor Maller, and myself as chair. We have other councillors joining us tonight as well, Councillor Leonard, Councillor Walker, and we have our chair joining us as well. Councillor Hawes, sorry, Councillor Hawes is here as well. And Jeff Davis has joined us at the table. The first thing we have on our agenda tonight, Jeff Davis, and first thing we have on our agenda tonight is the urban forest management plan.
So the next three items are for forestry. So I'm gonna have Ben Garuda come up and do his thing. Sophie, if you can take my spot if you want to, okay.
Good evening, Ben Garuda, City of Bangor Forestry Manager. So part of a urban canopy grant that was received through IRA funds was to develop a urban forest management plan as well as an operations plan. We are in the beginning stages of that plan. Part of that was creating a survey that will be getting passed out to residents, both digitally and hard copies. We've teamed up with Ewathene Environmental and begun the beginning stages of that project. And so we've had a public meeting on January 7th where we looked at that community survey. We took recommendations from both tree board members and interested members of the public. Made modifications to the survey. The survey is available in your agendas in full. I believe that is the revised version of the survey. This survey will be a Microsoft form style survey, so for the virtual version. And it's a pretty standard survey. It should take 5-10 minutes tops, asking residents on their opinions of trees, tree care, operational efficiencies, deficiencies within the city, how could we do better, do worse, things of that nature. So that's one of the sections. Another section that we are working on is the website development for the urban forest management plan. Part of that budget is public outreach and having residents be informed of the urban forest management plan. So we are going to make additions with David Warren and the communications team to the forestry division website, and all the forest management plan happenings and everything is going to be linked directly through the forestry division website, which is a sub-page of public works. And a rough outline is also included in your agenda.
The survey is page 6 of the PDF.
Do we have any questions? Councillor Beck?
This is more of a curiosity, but on the survey, one of the questions they asked about rating the importance of the following economic, social, and environmental benefits provided by public trees. And one of the options that people can answer is it can reduce crime levels. I'm not done as possible, but it's not something I would have thought of.
Yes, yep. Through research, it's been shown that increased canopy coverage improves mood, and then through a certain scientific research reduces crime rates.
That's something. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question. Sometimes when you have a branch that is, not conducive to your home, but maybe not on the wires, and you call for to be trimmed and they come and they trim it, but maybe it's not the branch that you think it is. If an individual was to cut a branch off a city tree, and I don't know who this question is for, and this is more a personal question, but is that allowed or no? You always have to go through the city, even if it's on your property.
Correct. They are considered a public asset. They're public property, which we are the forestry division. We're tasked with the maintenance of that public infrastructure. So any pruning, maintenance, you're not allowed to do without prior approval through forestry division or the public works director. You're also not allowed to attach anything to trees. We see it all the time. It's tough to enforce. Bird feeders, signs, things of that nature are placed on public trees when they should not.
So if you live in a very small lot in town and your trees are pretty much city property, can you get some sort of a stipulation that you can have a bird feeder? So I mean, people love to have bird feeders. That seems
Like
a little excessive.
Variance per se?
Yes.
I would assume so. I'm not opposed to, soft attachments using ropes or hanging, but as far as attaching hardware
Like a nailing.
to the tree ends up growing over that hardware and consuming it.
Thank you.
Councilor Falloon?
Thank you. Kind of, your question kind of prompted my question, but when I was out campaigning, actually a couple of houses had trees marked to be either cut down or trimmed that were city trees, but it had been some time since they'd been marked, and that was a concern. So I'm curious, like, once they've been identified, kind of what's the time frame? How do you prioritize that?
The timeline, if it is contracted, my contractor has a contractual agreement that is done within 30 days of me notifying them. Individual removals that I believe my crew can complete, we typically try to keep to that 30-day timeline. We've had some staff overturn, and right now just myself and one heavy equipment operator for the entire forestry division. So we have a backlog of storm cleanup, tree removals, preventive maintenance. So things move sometimes slower than they should.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Ben, is this just an update? We don't need it.
Yes, yep, just an update for informational purposes.
And you're up for the Red Pine Scale Response Plan as well.
I have it pretty easy tonight.
Yeah, you
I just have
do.
to sit here.
That's fine.
All right. So the City of Bangor Public Works has teamed up with Park and Recreation. We have created a new shared position within the two departments. That is the position of forestry technician. This forestry technician, Sophia Cameron, some of you may remember, wrote the Emerald Ash Borer response plan. Part of her position now is to look at forests and certain other invasive species that urban forests are getting threatened by. And one of those most notably now is red pine scale. Red pine scale is a minute insect that is very hard to see and targets only red pine trees. And a red pine tree can be identified as something that's planted in pure plantations throughout the city. Some of the most known ones are Prentice Woods, adjacent to the high school, the upper half of Cascade Park, all the softwood trees that are in perfectly straight lines. Part of this project was for Sophie and myself to identify pure stands of those red pine trees, because this insect, within a year or two of reaching the trees, causes complete dieback and tree death. If you've been out to Mount Desert Island, red pine scale got out there, I believe, in 2012. There was not one single living red pine tree on all of Mount Desert Island. So we're looking to target and implement a plan to manage the city's pure red pine plantations. we have identified 5 city-owned parcels totaling 36 acres of just pure red pine plantations. This also includes a city-owned parcel in the town of Winterport, a former gravel pit where we pull sand from back in the 80s and 90s. And that was planted in pure red pine.
Any questions? Is there any, I know with the Emerald, is it at the Beetle or we talked about having sort of an injection type thing that we could put in the trees to try to limit that. Is there any remedy or solution or anything to try to?
There is not no commercially viable remedy. If you have choice trees that are small enough to treat, I believe a horticultural oil can be applied to the tree to prevent that insect, but from a forest standpoint, there's no feasible treatment option to prevent insect damage from this particular insect.
And would you say there's evidence that it's here in Bangor?
There is not currently any evidence. We're teaming up with the Maine Forest Service to set out that as a preventative measure. So that way, if they are found here, we're the first to know and can take those.
Any other questions? Yeah, I think Ben, you're still up on the timber harvesting.
That one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. The costs of implementing what's in this plan that's already in the budget for forestry.
Yes, yep, we're not looking to make any capital investments outside of already pre-existing budget parameters, be it subcontracted costs or, you know, individual labor accounts within forestry.
Okay, timber harvesting contractor.
And part of this plan and leaning into your question is sourcing out a timber harvesting contractor. Timber harvesting and stand management can be classified into 2 different categories. Expense-based management, where no products are yielded and it comes to an expense for a landowner, and then income activities, harvest on a larger scale where it yields a positive income for a landowner. And what we are looking to do is source a timber harvesting contractor to both implement plan recommendations from, the red pine management plan, as well as previously accepted management plans for city parks such as the Roland Perry City Forest. And we would like to start with the larger harvesting recommendations, which would be at a positive income to the city, and then see where we are as far as cash flow based on those activities to then go out and do an expense-based management. And the expense-based management is still, even if we do not have an income, the expense-based management will still be kept below my budgeted amount for subcontractors to maintain that balance with our existing tree removal contractors and then stump grinding contractors.
Do you have any questions? Do you need anything from us? Okay. All right. I think just you might be up now.
Yeah, so the next 2 items deal with stormwater. We have John Rock Stream Watershed Plan. We'll bring Rick up. Oh, there he is. Richard Mayer, Stormwater Manager. We're gonna talk about the plan, and then the next item, he's gonna do some stormwater training for our MS4 permit. Exciting stuff.
Hello again, Rich May, Stormwater Manager, Engineering Department. So the first item here is to start the process to submit a watershed-based plan for Conjadwalk Stream. We contracted a rewrite of this plan starting in 2023. Contractors finished the plan. Sort of the next step in implementing this is start taking some actions, and by getting this plan submitted and approved by the Maine DEP, that allows us to apply for 319 funding, part of the Clean Water Act funding. Unfortunately, they are not funded this year, and they're not going to have an RFP out this spring as they typically do. But we're hoping to get the plan submitted and get the process going. So hopefully in the next year, 2027, they'll have some funding available, and we can take on a project at that time with grant funding.
Any questions? Councilor Beck?
So I was just looking at the memo here, it was talking about the last plan had expired in 2018. So I guess, did we apply, so we couldn't apply for any funds from the last one's expired? But there wasn't any projects, I'm assuming, that were on the radar for that funding?
I mean, so we do have 6 impaired streams, and that kind of creates a larger workload. We've been focusing our efforts on some of the other streams in town. Well, Conjadwalk was sort of on the back burner.
Any other questions? So you need a motion by us to be able to submit the plan for the stream.
Yes, yeah, to submit it to Maine DEP for acceptance.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Okay. All right, this order will be up on the next council meeting.
So I'm gonna do some stormwater training as the next item here. I'll be following the coordinating on occasion to move the slides ahead. If you can take a look at the screens, we're trying to keep this moving pretty well. I know we have a lot of folks in the room waiting for the next meeting as well. Many of you councilors have seen this before, some have not. But this is sort of just to give you an idea of what we're up against with our permitting and sort of some of the general things that we do to manage stormwater in the city. Next slide, please. So the permit we have is from Maine DEP, and it's part of the Clean Water Act. Maine DEP administers the permit through their power given to them from the US EPA. So it comes in cycles with these permits, typically 5 years. The last one was 9 years because it was administratively continued. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens again with how DEP is moving right now. So this basically kind of ups the ante for us. You know, we have to make sure we're doing the right stormwater management. You know, that other communities in the state might not have to, that don't have this permit. I think there's 30 municipalities that have this permit. Next slide. So we talked a little bit about this earlier in the finance committee meeting, but I'm just going to kind of remind you of the terminology that might be used. Storm sewer is what this permit is regulating. That's a storm sewer that just takes pure stormwater, collects it off the street or other drainage, and takes it to the nearest water body. Usually doesn't get treated. In our case, that could be an urban impaired stream because we have 6 of them in town. And then we have sanitary sewers. They collect the interior plumbing from houses, buildings, businesses. And then we sort of have a third category that's a combination of both. It takes the interior plumbing, it also takes stormwater, and that's what gives us our CSO issues. So this permit just regulates the separate storm sewers, but just wanted to kind of give you a little recap on what we have in town. Next slide. So the urban impaired streams, these are classified by DEP. They go out and they take samples in streams throughout the state, and if they're not finding the bugs in the stream, basically that indicate a healthy stream, it can end up being classified as impaired. We're working to improve the water quality to try and get the bugs that should be in there and get things to a status where they're no longer impaired. This tends to be a long process. Took a long time to degrade the streams. It's not going to be restored overnight. So as you can see, the map of the city, there's a fair amount of area that is covered with these drainages that are urban impaired streams. Next slide. The permit is broken up into 6 major sections, which are called minimum control measures or MCMs. So we'll go into those in a little bit more detail in the next slides. So MCM 1 and 2 are pretty interrelated, public education and outreach and participation. A lot of this work is done through a collaboration between the city and the other municipalities and organizations that are regulated through the same permit in the Bangor area. So we're one of 4 clusters throughout the state. The Bangor area is an urban area. We have Portland, Lewiston, Auburn, and then southern Maine in the Portsmouth, New Hampshire area is also a urban area. And they have similar groups that do the same thing. So we're trying to get people involved and get them educated. Here's an example of something that we worked to get in the Children's Museum in town, the Maine Discovery Museum. They were updating their river exhibit, and what better way to kind of get people involved when there's already a water feature to teach them about stormwater. And the biggest thing we want to teach them is it goes right to the river. It doesn't go to the treatment plant most of the time. So happy to be in there and part of that new exhibit. Next slide. MCM 3, illicit discharge detection and elimination. A long way of saying we're going to look for pollution sources. We're going to try and get rid of them. And we take a couple different approaches here. You know, the permit prescribes a systematic approach to find pollution sources through testing at outfalls. So an outfall is kind of the last point of the pipe before it goes into the water body. So we test each outfall that is regulated throughout a permit cycle and follow up on what we would call, you know, a bad result where there's an indication of pollution, try and trace that upstream. So that's kind of labor intense at times, old infrastructure, old city, and we find that there is cross connections where they shouldn't exist at times. The other part of that is like, you know, just educating people that no, you can't wash a paintbrush in a bucket and dump it down the storm drain. You know, they think it goes to the treatment plant, but they're mistaken there. So, next slide, please. So here's an example of a illicit connection we had where the interior plumbing of a house was actually plumbed to the storm sewer rather than the sanitary sewer. And we've had this many times in my tenure here, 10 years. This is the most recent example. This is a house on Pine Street, and it was a vacant lot, and somebody moved a historic home to the lot. So while the lot was vacant, there was a sewer separation project. And so when they went to go hook up the new house, they found where there was an existing service on the property and an existing pipe. We said, great. They said, great. Nobody's digging up the street. Everybody's happy. 32 years later, we find that, they've been flushing to the wrong place for all that time. So move on to the next slide. I'll show you a few pictures of what that repair entails and kind of what we do to make sure we're doing the right thing. So in the bottom left there, you can see the red water coming out of that service into the storm sewer. That's, a direct connection. We go into the house and put the dye packet in, flush it. Then for sure you definitely have a cross connection at that location. So we put the bill for this. We hire our sewer repairs contractor to do this work, hook it up to the sewer, make it right. It's expensive, it's time consuming, but that's part of the permit, and it's honestly, one of the more satisfying portions of the permit. You've done something good when you find something like that. Next slide, please. Construction site runoff control. So this is, generally speaking, we're talking about erosion and sedimentation control on construction sites. We're also talking about things like, we're not fueling equipment over a catch basin, that kind of thing. So I'll show you a few pictures of kind of the examples of typical controls we might see. I'm sure you've seen them in your travels, but go to the next slide, please. So when there's construction going on, there's heavy equipment, there's dump trucks, there's moving earth, they're bringing materials into the site, bringing materials out of the site. And those trucks, as they're moving through the site, can sometimes pick up mud on the tires. And so we would like to see a construction entrance at a site with significant trucking so that those rocks sort of flex the tires and force that mud to come off to some extent. It's never perfect, but we want to see if they're making that effort, so it's not getting on the city street and then washing into the storm drain, as well as causing other issues like dust and things that can be a safety issue as well. But most typically, we see a rock entrance at the top right photo there, something that I actually hadn't seen before. The YMCA is using that like a plastic grid mat to try and capture some of that sediment as trucks moving in and out of the site. Next slide. Tilt fence, very common to see the black fencing around a site. Most of the time, or I shouldn't say most of the time, sometimes it's not installed correctly. You know, that has to be buried in the ground so that when water moves towards it, it pools up, stays there for a period of time, that sediment drops out, and then the water slowly goes through the fence, cleaner on the other side. So a lot of times, you know, if you see that flap blowing in the wind on the bottom, that they're putting up a showpiece, I guess we'll call it. And the other way you can do that is through a bark mulch berm, which is in the center of the photo, not the orange fencing, but there's a ground up tree stumps is typically what that is, and it functions the same way. It isn't as recognizable by the public, so sometimes public will get excited, hey, there's no silt fence on this site, but they do have a bark mulch berm, which is equally, if not more effective as well. Yes, go ahead.
Just a quick question. So when that happened, they didn't install properly. Is there some kind of enforcement for that?
Yeah, so there is inspections that I'll do, 3 per site, you know, while it's under construction. So if I see something like that, I'll definitely bring it up with the contractor. And hopefully they will respond well. Generally they do.
If we see tracking and stuff, we call them, we know who's building, who's not building. So if we see something, we tell them, they can clean it up, so.
Next slide, please. So a couple different things going on here. Also related to sedimentation control, that catch basin on the left, it's got a insert underneath it to help catch sediment as it flows towards it. This is kind of a double barrier. They've got some clean stone around that catch basin as well as sort of a primary way to stop sediment. And then secondarily, they have the insert. On the right, you see, you know, what will be a stormwater treatment area in the future. What the contractor has done is dug that out ahead of time. They haven't put the filter media and piping that will go in there later, and they're just using that as a sedimentation area during construction. Just sort of is a good way to get a little bit more out of what the work that you're going to have to do in the future by also allowing some sedimentation. Next slide. So at the end of all this, we really want to see that the site is stabilized. We no longer have any erosion, sedimentation issues. You know, on the right side, that's the Monty Moose parking lot that was mentioned earlier. Everything's all green. Soil's not going to erode anymore. It's all stabilized. And then, you know, on the bottom right is another site where, you know, we don't always finish construction at a time where you can make things green. So there is a good coating of hay mulch there, and that will protect the site from erosion throughout the winter until it will green up in the spring. They should have dormant seed there as well, so it should grow in the spring and be all done. So those are the things we look for kind of at the end of a project. Next slide. So post-construction stormwater management. This is having to do with, you know, like the pond that was being used for sedimentation control. They've got to put that in as part of their stormwater permitting to treat the water on site. And not only do they have to build it, they have to maintain it. So there's an annual requirement in the permit and also in city ordinance. Or each landowner has one of those to submit annual certification to the city. You know, so when things don't get maintained, we can see, you know, catastrophes like we saw over at the Bangor Mall, where, you know, things don't go well when they're not maintained, and then you really end up with a bigger headache than if you maintained it along the way. Next slide, please. So MCM 5, which is the post-construction, has been updated in this permit. Part of what it is, you know, it has to do with not only with post-construction, but also sort of the planning portion, getting things to the planning board, doing site development. And they're trying to implement what's called low impact development techniques. So it's kind of going like one step further from just a stormwater treatment. You're thinking about the whole site and designing it to have the least impact as possible. It's not as easy to define for that reason. The permit, as it was first written and has since been modified, has been contested by interest groups and, so that portion of the permit is currently being appealed. Again, we should be implementing that at some point. I don't know if it's gonna happen before the end of the permit cycle. So we'll wait and see there. Next slide, please. And MCM 6, this is the last one. It's pollution prevention and good housekeeping for municipal operations. We're trying to make sure that, we're setting a good example as municipal operation with Public Works. That, they're kind of the ones that are in the spotlight here. They're doing most earth moving maintenance kind of work that has potential to impact stormwater. They're also maintaining the stormwater system. So we're just trying to do as well as everybody else. There's a couple other facilities too that sort of have potential to have more impact, and we're taking care of them as well. Next slide. Oh, and also, trainings like this, training Public Works to look out for the things that might indicate pollution sources too, that can really help, bring them to our attention so we can address them. Here's some recent stormwater projects that, we've been doing. This is sort of beyond the permit training portion of this, but just wanted to get these in front of you too. Hammond Street was completed last summer. This is to help address flooding that we've seen out there during heavy rains in Hammond Street and other side streets there. Mount Hope sidewalk, that's going to have some significant storm drainage as well. That'll be between almost to Hogan Road, where there's some sidewalk constructed, and Saratoga Avenue. There's a gap there. We're looking to fill that. We're getting some MPOT grant funds for that. Broadway culvert repair, it's a short little section of culvert we're repairing out by Judson Heights. Let's see, Sucker Brook geomorphic improvements. That's one of those urban impaired stream projects. This is where we're looking directly at the stream and we're saying, what can we do to make this actual stream better? So that's a little bit more permitting and planning to do a project like that, but potentially has, a bigger impact where you can get those bugs and get the habitat that MDAC is looking for to declassify that stream as impaired. And then we have, ongoing small repairs that, maybe Public Works isn't available to do. So, or it's just a longer stretch of pipe that needs to be repaired. And we'll have that done through our repairs contract as well. So we had some at Hogan Road, Glenwood Ave, Ohio Street, and then Godfrey Boulevard by the airport this year. Any questions on those? Next slide. So, basically the permit means we got to be a little bit better than some of the other communities. Unfortunately, that means it might cost both us and people doing business here a little bit more to operate, but we try and work with them as best as we can. Okay, got one more slide, but that's really it.
Any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Rich.
Next, we have the sidewalk snowplow.
Yeah, and that's gonna be our new Public Works Director, David Telon. And I had a really easy night. Be able to talk.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Nice to see you here tonight. And we're going to talk about the sidewalk snowplow.
We'll answer whatever questions you guys have, hopefully to my best of my ability.
Sorry, Dave, could you I think when we had chatted about this, I was hoping you could just run through the priority system that applies to the streets and the sidewalks. Cause I know we've gotten a lot of reach-ins about that recently, so I thought it would benefit us all to sort of understand how that works.
And, as you know, I'm new to the position. I'm still making my assessment and I truly don't know how it totally works. I understand what priority 1, priority 2 and not specified means. How we arrived and declared priority 1s, priority 1s, priority 2s, priority 2s. I haven't got a good answer on that and where we're at. So I can tell you though that we have all the maps are in the GIF system. So we have to differentiate between road plowing It's 400 lane miles of roads that we plow. And then it's broke down into sectors and sections. And then there's color breakdowns on this for what's a priority 1 and a priority 2. Same concept falls to the sidewalks. Impacts our ability to perform the mission, obviously, is the amount of weather we get, the sustained weather we get. So we worked Christmas Day, we worked New Year's Day, we worked the last 2 weekends. And so as the team is briefed, at whatever time they come in, they're sent out. Priority 1s, obviously, are what they go to clear. If the snowstorm continues, they'll start over on priority 1 before they go to a priority 2. And then they'll go back to it to a third time again if it continues to snow before they'll even get to a priority 2. While we're in the middle of a snowstorm, while they're plowing, whether it's a sidewalk or a road, they do their best to open a lane. So it's not going to be the left or right clearance. It's going to be enough for traffic to pass through and or foot traffic to move out on the sidewalks. Things that impact our ability to do this, obviously, is our equipment capabilities and readiness. And by capabilities, it's the different sizes of equipment we have, whether it's the larger trucks with wing plow or straight blade or pickup trucks. The other requirements that task us away from all the school activities that we do. We clear all the schools and the different places that we have to clear, take priority over streets and roads if they're in session or if that's what they're tasked to do. So, and then personnel availability and capabilities also are taken into consideration. So we have a lot of new personnel that are still working to obtain their CDL license, so they can't drive some of the larger equipment. They're put into the smaller equipment and or they're used as a side person, so they're not even operating the equipment. So.
Do you have any questions? Councilor Dean?
I think a lot of people are confused as to when their sidewalk gets plowed. So it's not one storm, you're the first one, it seems like, and then the next storm, it might be a couple days. So even if you're priority 1, you don't necessarily go in the same order per street. It's sort of where they are.
Well, there's different sections, so different quadrants of the city, so different sidewalks in those quadrants are different priority levels. So like I said, we can look at the maps, we can look specific at it. But no, if an operator is tasked for downtown, he should start at the first road in his priority and complete his priority 1 path. And then if it hasn't continued to snow or he's not redirected, it will go to priority 2 at that point. Priority 1 could be the odd side of a street and the even side of the street could be priority 2, or it could be a not specified. How we arrived at that, I'm still working on. So, and I'm still working on, we're working on making these maps flat and renaming them layman terms, and then we're going to put them on a website so that every resident will have the ability to open up a map and see when we're coming. It's not exactly when we're coming, but where they fall in the priority.
That would be nice. Thank you.
Breakdowns and staffing could affect all of that too. So throw that out there.
And, oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Malik.
I'm basically happy with what you do as far as plowing the streets and sidewalk plows. The only comment I would make is I really don't appreciate when you're blowing the snow, that you dump it on my side of the sidewalk and on my stairs, so I have to shovel it off. You have an Esplanade. That's where you should be putting the snow.
Yes, sir. Again, I'm still looking at the processes and I'm getting out, looking at this stuff, so all that's gonna be attended to. Obviously, most of this will go into effect for next snow season, since I can't immediately affect a lot of changes in here. Right down from the brief they receive in the morning needs to be changed, and how that's delivered and how they're told what they're gonna do to. I'm looking to change our monitoring and tracking system and put more cameras in there with a in-cab monitor so they can monitor their own routes and see where they're at in their route. My dispatch can see where they're at in the routes. My foremen can see where they're at in the route to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And we spend a lot of time chasing the guys around, getting them reoriented in the right place, doing the right thing. So
Counselor Falone?
Thank you. How long does it typically take? I mean, do you get through all the sidewalks after a storm? Or does it sometimes take a couple of days and will they keep working on that even, like a day or two after the storm? How does that?
Absolutely. I mean, there's parking ban in effect now through Friday, I believe. So we're continuing to clear snow and push snow. It depends on the amount of snow we're getting. It depends on, again, the equipment readiness, whether we have multiple pieces down at any one time and the time it takes to service that equipment. But on a couple inches of snow, they should be able to clear their priority ones without a problem and start attending to the priority twos in the same day. So.
And then if not, they would continue kind of the next day on
Absolutely.
priority two,
Yep.
unless we get more snow and then they sort of start over again.
Yeah, they never stop. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
okay,
So,
yeah.
we've got a lot of overtime hours already just in the last month, so.
Counselor Carson?
This might not be for you, but outside of downtown, do we have any ordinances that compel participation in snow removal? And I ask because it's concerning to me, like I 8-10 years of experiencing snow removal on sidewalks. And what I watch every day is children in the street walking to school because the sidewalks are very seldomly cleared. And I've lived other places that have winter environments, and this is the first place that I've ever lived where people are not compelled to participate in snow removal. And so our only snow removal opportunity is the very limited equipment and staff that we have. And then in the interim, we have a lot of things that go on that I don't find to be acceptable outcomes. But children walking in the street to school is I think the top of my list of that. So
I agree. I've driven around, I look at our sidewalks, I don't think they're in the best condition. Last time I was down a week ago, I looked, and part of the sidewalk out here is clear, part of it's not. It's just where the priority one and priority two ended. We have 4 sidewalk machines. We're covering almost 70 miles of sidewalks.
Yeah.
So they don't move very fast. So we need more equipment. Obviously, equipment's very expensive. So, and with more equipment comes more personnel to operate it.
Counselor Mallon?
We used to just plow odd and even. If it was an odd year, you plowed the odd sidewalk side of the street. If it was an even year, you plowed the even side. Have we considered going back to that?
I'm considering a lot of different things. First, let's figure out why we're at where we're at now. Who dictated why different neighborhoods, different sidewalks, or different roads are priority one, and to find out where we're going from there. So now consider looking at the way we do it. Do we just make left turns? Do we just make right turns? Do we, there's a lot of things that are being considered right now as I'm trying to develop and make it more productive for the team.
Counselor Dean?
I thought we did have laws in effect that stipulated that the homeowner did have to keep the sidewalks clear. In fact, I thought it also included the end of a sidewalk, say either you or the snowplow had cleared the sidewalk and then the city plow comes and makes a bank. I thought we also had to clear that for passing. That's not.
That's out of engineering's wheelhouse.
I'm pretty sure if that sidewalk comes out of the house up to the main sidewalk, to the right of way, that's us. So they, whatever the step is from their house to that front sidewalk, downtown residents aren't required to clear their snow. We take care of it.
I think with commercial businesses though.
Commercial business will take care of
Commercial
some of their
businesses
responsibilities.
have
but probably
their-
not.
Yeah.
So some of us have been working harder than we need
Yeah.
to.
Just keep going.
Good job, good job.
That's good rumors.
I'll go out and do, all the sidewalks until the snowplow comes. And that's, yeah.
Any other questions? Well, thank you for your report tonight.
Yep, I'll have better information next time.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, David.
Jeff, do you have anything else for me?
That is it. Thank you. I know that was long, but with Rich being here for some other things, I thought it made sense to have him do the training.
Very good.